Hello everyone and welcome to another Nothing But Fishing. You join me today on the banks of the old faithful Newton Park. This place doesn't really need any introduction if you've watched me for any sort of length of time. I've fished here quite a lot over the years. But today I'm not pike fishing for the first time in a very long time. I think I last carp fished in this swim in the autumn. Had 2 fish towards the end of the session. But I've been pike fishing all winter so far, and I'm probably not done pike fishing, but I just fancied getting out and trying for some carp. I've been watching a lot of carp fishing videos on YouTube recently, and it's really got the juices flowing. So the carp rods are out, and today I have started with very simple tactics. Barely any bait whatsoever. I've just got my hook baits out with tiny little PVA bags of pellet on. So one of them is a Ronnie rig with a pop-up, and the other one is a bottom bait wafter rig, sort of blowback style, with a bit of silicone tubing holding it on the shank of the hook. With a pink wafter and again little bag. One's out in midwater and one's down the margin. Spots that I've caught from before. I just thought I'd come up here for hopefully a banker session to get me going for the year. So not only am I going to try and catch some fish today, I'm also going to do some questions and answers. Now I put a post up on Facebook this morning and on Instagram, so if you don't follow me on there, please do, because not only do I post extra content, photos and videos, I also do a lot of communication and engagement with you guys, and this time I thought I'd give you the chance to ask me some questions and I'll answer them in this video. So without further ado, let's get the questions up and start answering them. Okay, so we'll start off on Facebook, and to start with we have Scott Hoggins. What's your view on bait boats? I've recently purchased a boat and a lot of anglers frown on them in regards to cheating, but seem to think, especially in winter hours, that it just gives you an edge, if not going home with a blank. I've never used a bait boat, but I don't have any objections to them. On places like this where you don't need one, then yeah, I can see an issue with why some people can get a bit annoyed because you don't need them. But if you're fishing a venue where you're fishing really tight little pockets of where you need to get a bait presented perfectly, or underhanging or overhanging trees and things like that, if it gives you an edge, we're all carp fishing for the same reason, to try and catch fish. So whether it's a deeper fish finder is helping give you an edge to catch a fish, or a bait boat, or anything that's giving you an edge, surely you want to use it to try and catch you more fish. So I'm not someone that is against anything unless it is used in a situation where it's not needed. But if it's needed and gives you an edge, then I have absolutely no issues with them. Sean Lugg, when approaching a new water at this time of year, how do you go about getting the carp going? Well, this time of year, I don't think it's not very easy to get them going at all. The fish aren't feeding because it's colder. They aren't eating as much. They're much more lethargic, and I think internally things shrink as well, so they can't take on as much food. So you're not trying to get them going so much. You're fishing for a bite. Carp are very inquisitive and will find out what things are through their mouths, which is why bright pop-ups and little baits and things like that do so well this time of year, because they're not hungry, they're not feeding, but they just can't resist not trying to take something that looks appealing to them. That's why today I'm fishing with bright pop-ups with barely any bait, just a bit of attraction around the hook bait to make them think what's going on here, and then hopefully they won't be feeding on it, they'll just be interested, and that's my aim of trying to make them slip up this time of year. But getting them going, I've not ever managed to get them going unless I've found where they are and had a good session that way. I've never been able to get them going by feeding them, but I'm sure little and often and certain tactics would work on the right waters. Looking forward to watching with my son if you mention me in the blog. Scott Hoggins, there you are, I've mentioned you, and I did your question at the start. Colin Suter, what are your tips finding fish in these colder months when the fish give no obvious signs? Keep up the good work. Well, today I got here, had a look around the water, and there was nothing showing, obviously. The odd bubble here and there, which could be little fish as well. So I went on past experience. Everyone's seen this swim dozens of times. I always fish this place. I know this swim quite well. It's deeper water out here, so if I can't see the fish, I go on where I've had good past experiences in these sort of conditions and where fish often are. But also taking into account the weather we've just had, we had some of the areas around my way, well, most of us were in amber warning for snow, and just down the road was red warning for snow. So we've had some extremely heavy snow the last few days, and it's melted really quickly. So all that melted snow has gone into the water. So I haven't touched it yet, but I'm sure this lake water is going to be absolutely freezing. So I'm fishing in the deeper water. The fish aren't showing themselves. They don't tend to this year very much. If you do see signs of them, then by all means jump on it. But for this session in particular, I've just gone on past experience and what I think the fish will be doing in these conditions. David Van Rompuy. My question for you, Joe, is how do you feel now you become a slightly more famous carp angler? If I see Facebook or Instagram, it looks like everybody wants to be famous. Daily pictures of rigs or throwback Thursdays. After 20 years, I still fish for fun and try to combine it with my family. But if you see the social media, it looks like everybody is famous angler these days. I've never classed myself as a famous angler. I still wouldn't. I always think of famous anglers as people that are catching these giant fish and do it for a living. I just make videos, enjoy doing them, and I've been lucky enough to get into the industry and filming in them. But I guess now I'm going to shows and things, I am getting recognised more and more. It's a weird feeling, but at the same time I really do enjoy it because it's a great way to engage with you guys face to face. But I'm skipping the question was about Instagram things. Yeah, so Instagram can be a great media platform. I'm starting to get more into it recently, and the more regularly you post, the better it goes. And if you're trying to become more well known, then you've got to put in the legwork. You can't just ask for fame. Not that I'm famous, like I said, but you can't just post a picture and expect everyone knows who you are straight away. A lot of work goes into it, but with Instagram as well, it's quite an easy media platform to get a lot of followers quickly. Which is why I don't just do Instagram, I do Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. I try and get as much stuff out there from different mediums, just to try and get myself out more. I'm not really sure if I'm answering your question right. So how do you feel having become more of a famous angler? So yeah, I'd say I'm enjoying the way it's going at the moment, but I still wouldn't class myself as a really famous angler. I certainly haven't got the ability quite yet. Brandon Hathaway. What are your tips for approaching a new water? So I guess this goes back to the first question as well, the introduction of the new deeper fish finders. If you come into a new water, you have no idea about it, things like that can give you an edge straight away to find out what the lake bottom's like, the depths, any spots that fish are feeding, but local knowledge as well. You get some places where anglers can be proper secret squirrels, don't want to tell you anything, but more often than not, anglers are really nice and they'll give you some advice, especially if you're just starting out. But also do your own thing. Some places you can go and someone gives you advice and then you take that on and do that. Still try and take your own angling experience into a new water, and if something's been working for you elsewhere, take it to a new water. If it doesn't work there, then maybe start to change, but don't go to a new water, change all your tactics because someone else has told you so, because that's only going to knock your confidence. Start from what you know and then build up on it. Gareth David, pink or brown? Well, I'm going to remove the dirtiness from your mind and go to those ice creams, which is vanilla, strawberry and chocolate. And it's got to be chocolate, then strawberry, then vanilla. Alistair Simpson, what hook baits and partial baits are you using at the moment, i.e. boilies, glug and attractors? So right at the moment I'm using barely any bait at all. So as I just showed you earlier, today I'm using pop-ups and wafters, bright visual stuff. I'm actually using the Nash Citrus stuff at the moment. And then a little bag of pellet. And again, I've put some glug on top of that and some added attraction spray on the baits, just to try and make as much attraction from a small food source as possible. Paul Andrews, are shelf life boilies as good as frozen nowadays? I've never done much extensive research into shelf lives and frozens. I use both. I've got several kilos of cell in the freezer back home, and I've also got several kilos of key cray and things. So I've used shelf lives and frozens, and I've caught on both. Depending on the time of year, I try and go for as fresh a bait in the winter as possible if I'm going to put any bait out. And then in the summer months when stuff breaks down quicker, I tend to use more shelf lives. But yeah, I still stick to frozens as well, just because in the summer I find that shelf lives last a bit longer rather than drying up in the sun. But yeah, I'd say a lot of shelf lives now are as good as freezer baits. Graham Tightlines G, which venue is your favourite to fish, and will you be doing any overseas fishing trips in the future? I don't think I really have a particular favourite venue. I take each session on its own merits. So today I'm come up here because there's a lot of fish in here. I'm feeling fairly confident I'll have a bite. Not that they're playing ball yet, but I've come up here, so today this was my favourite choice. On another day I might choose somewhere else. But I wouldn't say I have any particular chosen favourite. But as of going abroad, Yes, hopefully I am. It may not be towards or to do with nothing but fishing, but with carpology, I'm pretty sure I'm going to France at least once to do some fishing. So I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, where I can, I'll update everyone on this page as much as possible. Jason Weller, just watched Urban Banks 4. Have to say, one of the best carp films I've seen. As you evolve, this is part of your job. Who would you say inspires yourself with so much quality content out there now? Cheers. So yeah, obviously the Nash Productions, I know most of the guys that work for Nash, all top quality cameramen, and the editing skills are some of the best out there. But I don't just watch fishing videos. I'm really into my guitar, so I watch loads of guitar, different channels. I'm into my cars, so I'm watching all sorts of channels like 1320, that racing channel, different things like that. So drag racing, all kind of sports, car throttles, and I look at how different channels and different sports and hobbies, how they're filmed, and I try and take all of that on board and put it into my own filming. So it's not just I'm filming this because I think this is good for a fishing video. I'm filming it or taking on ideas because I think they're good filming ideas in general. So it's not just fishing stuff I take my inspiration from, and there's not any one person in particular that I look at and think I want to be like them. I take bits from everyone and try and improve myself, and I'm self-taught with camera and stuff, so anything I can get and any kind of advice, noisy word, I take it all on board and fit it into my own filming. That's currently everyone on Facebook, so let's jump over to Instagram and see what everyone's been saying on there. Come on fishies, I want to be interrupted. It's starting to rain, that's good. Last time I was up here and it started raining, I had a fish. So we're now on Instagram, and the first question, or first few questions, come from Carp in the Net. What bait do you use? So I've already covered that in this video. Bottom baits or pop-ups. Again, I've been using pop-ups today and wafters. I prefer pop-ups and wafters over bottom baits because I loose feed bottom baits, and I like the idea of having something that just stands out above the rest, literally above the rest. So either if it's a wafter just off the bottom or a pop-up about an inch off the bottom or so. I just like that added attraction, because I think when everything looks the same, one thing that's moving about can be a disadvantage if fish are really wary, but more often than not they'll be inquisitive and think, I'm going to go for that thing that's standing out. And please can I have a shout out from my YouTube channel, it's Carp in the Net. So there you go, Carp in the Net. JP_Anglin, one for the Q&A. If you had the time, would you consider putting effort into harder carp waters with prolific fish as opposed to commercial day tickets? If so, why? And if not, why? Just interested to hear your opinion. So yeah, of course, if I had more time to fish, like I used to when I was working part-time, I had 2 days a week off to go fishing somewhere. Although I didn't fish anywhere harder, I did have more time on my hands, so I did do a bit more on Main Lake. So one of my older videos, Main Lake Diaries, I put a lot more time and effort into that place to try and catch some bigger fish. But at the moment my time's a little bit more limited with working full-time, and this time of year especially the daylight hours are short. We're just at the end of March, start of March now, sorry. So I had a few hours today. This session is about 5 hours long, so I'm just trying to get a bite today and hopefully it will pay off. But if I had more time, of course, I'd try fishing some more difficult venues with bigger fishing. Hype3 Stagram. What is your favourite fishing moment to date? It could be best catch or funniest experience on the bank. Hope you catch, mate. Two in particular come straight to mind. My catch of my biggest fish on Main Lake, because I put in a lot of effort on there, and when that went over the net cord, well, you see the video, I'll probably insert a clip here of my reaction, so that's always going to stay with me of catching my first 30 and just such a jump from PB. And probably the second, or maybe joint, would be catching a fish from Redmire with about 15 minutes spare until we had to get out the car park. It's right at the end. I've been stalking on this one spot for the couple of days we've been there, and you can use 3 rods in there, and I stuck it out with 1 rod up at the end for most of the time just because the fish were coming in and out and I could watch them, and eventually one slipped up just before we had to go. And it wasn't a big fish, but it was the whole idea that I'd caught something from Redmire, especially as I'd grown up watching a passion for angling. So really enjoyed those 2 experiences. Daniel McCaffrey 1, what shampoo do you use and conditioner? This one comes up a lot. I actually use Tresemme shampoo and Tresemme conditioner. There you go. What's your favourite food on the bank? From Paul James 09. It's got to be chili. It's always chili con carne. If you watch any of my sessions of me doing overnighters, and I do the obligatory shots of me opening up a cider and getting some food on, it's nearly always a chili. But if I'm doing a 48-hour session, it's chili and then probably a chicken tikka or some kind of curry. So chili, then curry. _Garvo_, will there be another Ibiza adventure coming up anytime soon? And second question, do you know any waters around Warrington area that have a decent stock and don't want £500,000 a year membership? I'm afraid I can't help you on your second question because I don't even know where Warrington is, so I'm afraid I can't help you there. But will there be another Ibiza adventure? Nothing planned, but never say never. I need some sun in my life. I'm a pasty white albino when it comes out to sun, so I do burn quickly, but I do enjoy having a bit of sunny weather, and we've had such wet and cold snowy winter. I wouldn't mind going abroad at some point, but no plans to, but never say never. Cheshire Fisher, other than polarizing filter, what is the best filter for carpy shots? I don't even use a polarizer filter. It's really bad. I've got one polarizer filter for my 55mm lens, and I think I've used it about 3 times since I've had this camera. It's really bad really, because obviously it would improve shots of landscapes and stuff, but I've become a bit lazy, as it were, with this camera because there's so much detail held on a raw file on this camera that when I go into Photoshop I can bring out all the details in the shadows, the foregrounds, the highlights. So if I get a decent picture, there's also a bit of scope to use it in Photoshop. But yeah, polarized filter will cut out surface glare. And the only other one I'd suggest maybe for landscapes and things would be an ND grad filter. They basically cut out light from the sky and fade into normal when you get down to the landscape. So obviously the sky is the brightest part of any kind of landscape usually. So if you've got an exposure for the land, as it were, and that looks good, but your skies are blown out, or you've got exposed for the sky and then the ground has just gone into shade, an ND grad will sort you out, and they come in different strengths as well. Fitman76, where are you fishing? I'm at Newton Park, as said earlier. Christy_1988, what camera would you recommend for carp fishing photography? This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions I get from people on Facebook and Instagram, or other bloggers that are trying to upgrade their gear. It depends how much you're using it and how much what sort of shots you're after. If it's after catch photos, then to be honest, even phones are really decent nowadays. But if you want to get some proper decent looking pictures, lens wise, I would always encourage people to get a 50mm lens, an f1.8, or if you've got a bit more money, an f1.4 or something like that. Just because those are the sort of shots where it's good for portraits. You've got a nice shot of your fish and you, and the background starts to fall out into blur. That's called depth of field, or shallow depth of field. So lens wise, I'd always go for something like a 50mm and maybe a wide angle for some shots like this. I'm using a 40mm at the moment. And then for landscapes, again, a wide angle. But camera wise, go for something, if you want a DSLR or a mirrorless camera like I've got, go with something that's fairly decent, and then get lenses because you can change lenses on an SLR. And if I ever decided to upgrade this camera body, I could just sell the body and get a different body and keep the lenses because they still fit on the same mount. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question. There's a lot of budget cameras now as well, sort of the lower end Canons, I think like the D3000, the D35000 or D5100s, or the Sony ranges. I've started with the Sony Nex ranges, so you got the Nex 5, the Nex 7 I think I went through, and you also got the A6000, A61000, A5000s. So some of the smaller Sony lenses, Canon lenses, and obviously Nikons as well. Craney TV, for the Q&A, are you now as comfortable as you were with your videography and photography with having advanced your career in the media industry, or are you feeling the pressure? Looking for some settling advice for someone who's a little newer to the mainstream media game. Yes, I'd definitely say my confidence has improved. It's improved throughout my years of doing these videos. When I first started, I was 12, 13, so 10, 11 years ago now. And I was also awful on camera. If I saw someone on the lake within 100 or 200 yards of me that I thought could probably hear me on the camera would go away, I'd feel embarrassed and I wouldn't film. I was that bad. And if I found someone had caught me filming, I'd feel really embarrassed as well. Now, I couldn't care less. The only reason I stopped filming a second ago was because some dog walkers came past and I didn't want their voice on my mic. Other than that, couldn't care less if they heard me. I've also done filming now with people in my swim. I'll be talking to them and then I'll do a blog with them still there. It doesn't bother me. And I think the thing that's improved my confidence the most has been doing tackle shows, trade shows, people in the industry, so big names that I've got no choice other than to to film how I normally would. If I fluffed it on there, not only would I be embarrassed at the time, but it wouldn't make good video and I just get slaughtered online. I get slaughtered online anyway, but that's all part of the parcel of internet and warriors. So I guess my key advice, part of my French, is to not give a shit, to be honest. If you feel confident doing what you're doing, keep on doing it. You're always going to get people in all walks of life that will put you down for what you're doing, but if the good outweighs the bad, keep doing it. That's kind of gone off on a tangent a bit, but yeah, my confidence on camera is probably better than it ever has been. But that's also because the more effort you put in and the better you try and better your videos, the better feedback you get. The better feedback you get, the more you think, oh, I'm doing all right here. So you keep on improving. It's a snowball effect. If you don't put enough effort in and people respond in the same sort of way as saying this isn't any good, it's only going to put you down. Put the effort in, get the rewards back, and you'll just keep on going from strength to strength. I'm still on that path to try and get better. I'm always trying to better myself in filming and being on camera, and I hope you can see that I'm as natural on camera as I am in person. For those people that meet me, I can pick up a camera and talk to it like this, then put the camera down and carry on talking to you like this. I'm exactly on camera as I am in person. So be yourself, be confident, and you should be good. Went on a bit of a tangent there, but I hope that answered your question. Being from the southwest, what are your favourite waters in Devon and Cornwall? I'm from the southwest, but I'm more Somerset. Barely done any fishing in Cornwall other than the Bude Canal, and Devon again, I've not done any fishing down there. So someone asked earlier what my favourite water was, or best waters. I don't really have one. One thing I will say is that people that live anywhere other than Somerset or the West Country, you are spoilt rotten with waters. I'm sure there are other places that are a bit harder, but with my job I'm travelling all over the place, and you get up to Essex sort of way and you are spoilt rotten with waters up there. You come down our way and you're really stuffed for finding decent waters. This place obviously is just down the road from me, good for a bite, he says, who's been here for a couple of hours and not had a beep. But yeah, for decent waters or a lot of waters, we are a bit stuck down here. One more. Q&A. After seeing your recent semi-nude photo in the snow, my girlfriend has took more of a liking to fishing for some reason. My question being, on behalf of my missus, are you planning on more nude shoots? And I'm sure she's eagerly awaiting. That's from real_angler. For those of you that don't know what he's on about, I'm going to overlay said picture here. And as you can see, I wasn't wearing very much. The things I do to try and cheer people up and make people laugh, it was, I think that day was about -8, something like that, and we were in an amber warning of snow. So I took my top off and got my rod out and thought, not that rod, too cold for that and it wouldn't have been impressive, but I got my rod out for surface fishing and made that post. So if you like that sort of thing, I'm sure I'll keep on doing it. If it makes people laugh, that's what I'm all about. And going back to a previous question of not giving a shit, I enjoy doing things like that because I have no shame, and so who knows, maybe there will be more nudity coming in the future, just on a more tame level. Anyway, that is all the questions that I've caught up with. If I've missed yours or you didn't quite get them in time, I'm sorry, but do follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll try and respond to you on there if I did miss your question. And of course, we've got more features and more content and stuff on there. Fishing hasn't really gone according to plan so far. The rods have been out, coming up hour and a half, 2 hours now. So I think I'm going to have a recast, freshen everything up, and see if we can get a bite before we go, because I'm going to have to go in, it is 20 to 3, and I've got to be off by 5:30. So we haven't got too much longer. I'm going to get the rods repositioned, fresh baits, and hopefully we'll get our first carp of the year. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that Q&A. Let's go get a fish. Well, unfortunately the session is coming to an end and the fish just haven't played ball. It's been pretty grotty all afternoon. It was forecast to rain, so I've just been sheltering under here, twiddling my thumbs and sharpening the old hook. The sort of things you do when the fish aren't playing ball. I'm probably going to go pike fishing again at some point soon because I've been enjoying that, and the carp clearly still aren't up for it. I just hoped I'd have a bite today. It just hasn't happened. I hope you've enjoyed this video anyway. The Q&A may have helped give you a bit more of an insight into me and what's going on, and any questions you may have had that I don't normally answer. So please do like me on Facebook and Instagram. As I said earlier, I post regular stuff on there. Most days I try and post something. Even if I'm not fishing, I'll try and get something up on there. So please do like both of those. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like the video if you did, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to me and hit the little bell notification, which I think is down there as well. That gives you a notification every time I upload and not just getting lost in your subscription feed. So please do that. That would help me out greatly. Cheers for watching, and I will see you again soon, hopefully when it's a bit warmer.